So, this is BizTech Twist with Bob Coppage, another episode, and I don't have a guest. So we're going to talk about business and technology and basically a different perspective on it and all of that as CEO of Simplex-IT, crotchety old geek. And I think what I want to talk about are ripped jeans. That's right. And I don't even know what the right term for them is, because I don't know if those of you who are just listening, you may think I am probably a 25-year-old guy, and probably with the looks of Adonis or something, but I'm actually a 65-year-old angry man. But the thing is that you see it all the time. And by the way, spoiler alert, this is not a slam on kids today. Okay. That said, get off my lawn. This is talking about the whole aspect of buying ripped pants. And there's actually a business and a technology part to this, hopefully. But here's the thing, is that you're seeing more and more fashion statements that are being stated that involve buying pre-damaged goods, by buying materials or goods that already look like they're worn or torn or the like. And of course, in some cases, the jeans have less fabric, than holes. But here's my thing. I think those are stupid. And I don't mean that from a fashion standpoint, because I really don't care. But the reason being is because rips, damage, all of that kind of stuff actually has stories. You don't just rip the jeans. You tripped, you fell, you were climbing something, you were trying something different, you slid into second, you did whatever. And because of that, you got this cut, this bruise, this rip, this tear, this something. And you now have the experience to talk about. You have the story to talk about. You have a damage to your persona, whatever you want to call it, that nobody else has and that cannot be taken away. Whereas if you pay $50, and I'm probably underselling, for a pair of pants that somebody already did that for you and it was probably done by a machine, then where is that? And when I say this is not just a thing about kids today, it's because the same thing happened when I was a kid, except back in the 60s or 70s. It's hard to keep track. There were things like tie-dye, all right, or frayed leather. And what would end up happening at first is you would do it yourself. You would tie-dye yourself. And by that, I mean a piece of clothing. You don't actually tie-dye yourself, although probably it can be done. But you would create the pattern. You would create the look. You would create the whatever. Same thing with frayed vests or even, tanning and making sure you had the right color. It was cool because it was your story. It was your piece. It was your uniqueness. And you have the experience, the story to tell. And then companies started selling them. And instead of putting the stuff together, coming up with a story, you ended up just buying it off the rack. And I think you lose something by doing that. And I think this has been happening more and more often, and it is even more so, to the point where you now have packaged vacations. You have excursions that really bring the adrenaline. Because they're playing with your inner ear, or they're creating visuals, but it's controlled. There's no actual uniqueness. The experience is an experience of sight, of sound, of taste, of touch, but not of the soul, because it's just contrived. And I think there is a loss there. Now, what I mean by business, so often organizations, and especially those of us who are selling services, we sell the service in a can. We sell the experience in a can. We sell the book. We'll write the book for you. We'll create your social media content. We'll design your web page. We'll tell your story. And the odds are they won't. They'll tell something about you using their voice, their words. And the question that I've got is, from your standpoint, from your perspective, from your organization's aspect, are you going through the process so that your organization is actually matured through this? So if all you did was you bought something, a canned piece of software, and you're using the canned piece of software, then you're getting the experience out of it that everybody else is who's using it. Whereas if you've got ways to customize it, to customize the experience, either your employee experience or the experience of your clients, now you get to tell a little bit more of your story. You get to tell a little bit more about what's the unique proposition that your organization brings. And one of the challenges, one of the big challenges, Simplex-IT as a managed service provider, my biggest fear is commoditization. Is if we end up selling the exact same freaking thing that everybody else sells, then all I got to do is compete on price. That's it. And I know my skill set, it does not include that. And similarly, when we talk to our clients, I don't want them to just look at the invoice and go, okay, I can get this cheaper. Or even, I can't get this cheaper. So we have to look for those rips that we can create, those stories we can tell, and the stories that our clients can tell. We had a guest about a month or two ago who talked about sense of humor. And sense of humor is a core value for the organization. It's kind of a rip because that goes against what most organizations talk about. Yeah, we want to have fun. We want to have a good time. But to say that sense of humor or idea of fun is absolutely part of our core value, that's a little unusual. But by doing that, you're actually changing the culture or changing the organization. And in so doing, you're changing the way that goods and services are delivered. Instead, okay, we'll go to the comedy club. Okay, now you're just having somebody deliver that stuff to you. So my question to you is to take a personal inventory. Where are your tears? Where are your stories? Where are your things that you can say that makes you a little bit more unique, whether it be lessons learned? I have scars, probably about half a dozen or so, each one of them. I've got a scar on the inside of my mouth that I got back in 1965 that I can still tell a story about. I've got a scar on my leg from about 30, 40 years ago. I can tell the story about it. Things that I've learned. I used to have jean jacket. I was a big jean jacket fan back in the 70s. And I would have them and they'd be cheap to begin with, but they would be brand new and stiff and the like. But then over the next couple of years, I'd wear them in, and boy, did I wear them in. Sometimes put patches on them, sometimes not. They'd end up getting ripped and bloody, and I loved them. They were great because they were my stories, they were my rips, they were my tears. And then I got to the point where I couldn't wear it anymore, so I got another one and started over again. So to the kids today, this is not about you, okay? This is about your pants. But it's about, where do you get your stories from that talk about you? And they talk about the honesty and integrity of your experiences and how they shape you. And if it's a prepackaged thing, then everybody else who did that is going to have the same story, the same experience, and the same development. What's your unique story? What's your unique tear? That's basically what I'm thinking is what makes us cool, is the stories that you can tell about how you became you, and the stories that your organization can tell about how your organization became you. Anyway, that's pretty much it. So it's a relatively short topic, but here's the thing. If you want to create the most unique tear in the fabric of space and time, you do so by, there's a thumbs up icon. You click on that, or you subscribe. That would create a bigger tear in the space-time continuum, as well as comment. And share this podcast with other folks, because they need the same kind of experiences that you do too. Let me know what you think. And with that, crotchety old geek, Bob Coppage. Catch you later.